they say life insurance, but it's really death insurance. You don't want to think about dying. And I'm going to jump around a few different topics related to the bucket list. At my last company, the CEO would always get all kinds of weird items and gifts she would put in the kitchen and say free. So once there was a watch in there, and it was called the Life Watch. And I said, let me check it out. So you put it on, and it has a calculation of, your age, your health, and what it did is it gave you a countdown. And it's really the death watch, but they said it was like a Kickstarter. It was to make you feel alive. So I remember I put it on, and this is when I first moved to LA. I didn't have a car, so I was taking the bus, and I did my calculation. Okay, I have, whatever it's 40 years, 50 years, whatever it said. So I'm on the bus, and I'm like looking at the watch. Oh man, we start sweating. Look at the watch every few minutes, and it's funny, but it's not. I didn't like that feeling. It's like, but the idea behind the watch was, if you think about that your time is limited, then you're gonna appreciate what you have and do more. But back to the bucket list, I don't like to think about things you do before you die. I just want to think about living and things that I want to experience while I'm in this body on this beautiful planet that we all live in. So I definitely want to travel more. And I haven't ventured out so much. I want to travel abroad. And it's really to see the different cultures. I think that in America, it's a certain culture, but when you go outside of the U.S., there's a different warmth and kindness that exists. And a couple of stories that I have related to that is a woman I met from Ethiopia. She had moved to, this was when I was on the East Coast, she had moved to Silver Spring with her brother, and she got locked out of her house. And she told me she was crying. She had to wait a couple hours for her brother. And she told me if that was back home in Ethiopia, she could go to any neighbor, doesn't matter if they know them or not, say, hey, I got locked out of my house. You think you can help me out? And she said they would bring them in and have coffee and warm bread. That was the culture. So I used to work with in prison healthcare, which is an interesting field in itself. And one of the doctors, I think it was Dr. Temeskin, he's from also from Ethiopia, since I'm on the subject of Ethiopia. Let's see what I got. So Ethiopia, so he told me that he got used to American culture. When he went back home, there was no privacy. Like here, we don't know who our neighbors are. But when you go back, and he was telling me, in Ethiopia, everybody knows everybody. And the kind of culture was, if you are sleeping, they'll wait out in front of your house till you wake up. And for him, he was like, he doesn't like that, He got used to American culture. So that's Ethiopia. Where else do I want to go? I've been to Greece, but it was a short span. It was only for 18 hours. I had a layover in Greece. And that's one thing that, if you ever travel abroad and you look at layovers, my wife gets annoyed when I tell the story about flying. It's like, but it's a way to get a free flight. Is if you go on a layover, if you scroll on the flights, you can find the extended layovers. So when I went to Israel, I was like, okay, what do I got? I was like Paris, Prague, and Greece. So I said, Greece sounds pretty cool. All of them sounded cool, actually. I still want to go to all of them. But I ended up going to Greece, and I had an 18-hour layover. And one thing that surprised me about Israel and Greece, that you don't think about it here, but there's wild cats all over Israel and Greece. It's because they don't have the same spay and neuter things that we have here. So I remember, I'm walking eating my sandwich and I see all these cats following me around. It's kind of weird to get used to that. And a friend of mine from Israel, he's so used to cats everywhere. When he came to New York and we were walking, he kept looking, and I'm like, what are you looking for? He's like, where's all the cats? It's like, no, we don't have cats here, we have squirrels. It was something that he got used to. But back on the subject of the bucket, or I say life list, I would also like to, a friend of mine, actually is one of my oldest friends. We were from 8th grade, from 8 years old, we both had matching rat tails. That's how far we go back. And he told me that he went skydiving, and it's something that is very exhilarating and something that makes you feel alive. So it's like, it's kind of a scary thought to jump out of a plane and have trust. But I think that that's something that you, if you kind of get the adrenaline going, it wakes you up. And somebody was talking to that, we were talking on the idea of, actually it was here, he said he might come, but it was about PTSD, and it was in the military. So a lot of times when they come out of the military, they're used to that adrenaline rush that they get from being in service. So a lot of times they get stuck in that, you know, and it's like there's a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of suicides, a lot of robberies, and a lot of crazy stuff that happens with our veterans because they don't have a way to handle that adrenaline. Or they don't know how to resolve themselves. Because it's like an addiction. You come out of there, and now you're back in regular society, and you need to be normal. But what is normal? But if you're used to being on the edge, and then you get acclimated to that, and then you come back, and it's something you can't switch off. So it's a difficult thing. And I think that all of us, you know, speaking of adrenaline, speaking of fears, is, you know, back to the life list, it's about fears. Like all of us have our own fears, and they're invisible walls that stop us from doing what we came to this world to do. So if you want to look at, you know, areas of your life where you're afraid, where you don't want to push forward, these are areas that will help you grow as a person. You know, they say physical beings, but we're a spiritual element in a physical body, and we are like in a prison. So the one takeaway is for everybody to think, what is one or two things that you're afraid to do, and why? And what you'll find is that it's an invisible wall. When you approach the fear, you can pass through it. But it's something that you have to have the courage and the strength to move forward. So, thank you.